I want to welcome you to the Retro Rogues Live. Please pay attention to our warning graphic. It states that the Retro Rogues Live show is intended for an adult audience and not intended for children under the age of 13. Parental discretion is advised. Again, I want to welcome you here to the show. My name is Dave Beatty. I'm one of your hosts. For nearly the last 30 years, I've been a professional illustrator. Worked for a lot of fun companies like DC Comics and Marvel Comics. Former official artist for things such as Batman, Superman, Legion of Superheroes, and even X-Men. But enough about that. Welcome back to the co-host, is Mr. Eric Alexander. Please tell the folks hopefully watching or listening at home some of the fun things you have worked on as a creative professional.
Yes, hello, everybody. I'm Eric Alexander, also known as Bass God 14. That's Bass God 14, not Bass God. That's Bass God, like a bass guitar. And in addition to my co-hosting duties here on the Retro Rogues Live, I am the chief financial officer of a small company called Bad Bob Productions, which is a film company located in Arizona. Recently, we have been filming in California, actually, just back in November in Burbank, and we did a film called Staycation, which is currently on an on-demand phase of its Indiegogo fundraiser campaign.
All right, so on the show tonight, we're going to be talking about the WandaVision finale, the big final episode. We're going to be talking about Marvel cards for a little bit. We're going to be talking mostly about Marvel cards. We've got some interesting breaking news that actually involves comic book collecting, flipping stuff on the internet, and taxes. That's not going to be fun to talk about. We're going to talk about that for a little bit as well. So a lot of fun things on tonight's show, as well as obviously our regular pop culture news segment, and as well as streaming wars. But enough about that. See, I'm trying to go too fast. Enough about that. Let's get on with the show. All right, so we're going to start off by talking about WandaVision. We're talking about the finale. This is episode 9. This is the series finale. We're going to start by talking about our initial impressions of this particular episode, staying spoiler-free, not getting too much into the weeds or the specific details or the cornfield that people kept getting thrown out into in actually the show. And then we'll give you a little warning, and then we're going to get into spoiler conversation. We're going to talk about things that specifically happened on the episode, as well as maybe even speculate maybe a little bit of what some of this might mean for the wider MCU moving forward. So tell me, Eric, I know you weren't a huge fan of the finale here based on some things that you already said to me, but please tell the folks, hopefully watching or listening at home, your initial impressions of the season finale of WandaVision.
Well, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Hollywood Jackson. He said hi to us. And Hollywood, I wanted to let you know that I did get your message. I just haven't had a chance to call you back yet. But I do have your phone I do have your phone number now in my phone, and I will get back to you. But we always appreciate the comments, so please keep them coming. Anybody out there in the Rogues Gallery tonight, we definitely want to hear what you have to say about this, because I don't know how much I have to say about this. So WandaVision, when we first decided to do this, after the very first episode, my reaction was, this is only going to go one of two ways. This is either going to be really kind of confusing and a kind of crazy ride to an eventual really fun big payoff after dealing with all that stuff, or it was going to be a complete and total waste of time. Well, I think my prediction is 100% accurate, and pretty much everybody's going to fall on one side or the other. Either you liked the reveal at the end, if you can call that a reveal. I think it was just a new costume. But if you like the reveal at the end, hey, you're right on board, right? And I was right with you. And I said that you were going to be one of those people, and you're going to be like, hey, that's great. We went through all this, had a fun time. We enjoyed it. It was weird. It was kooky. It was strange. But at the end, it's all about the payoff. And either you liked the payoff or you didn't. And I didn't. I mean, I'll just be straight up with it. I didn't. I was very disappointed. I was like, wow, I invested a lot of thought and energy into this show, and that's not what kind of show this was. That's not really what kind of show this was at all. And it's kind of funny, what it really makes me think about is my disappointment at Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones was interesting because it really kind of defined this era of define people's expectations, right? That seems to be the catchword, the catchphrase of the day in Hollywood is let's defy their expectations. Well, when Game of Thrones started, it defied your expectations because it just did things that you didn't think would happen. Like you didn't think a certain character was going to die. That was a big thing in Game of Thrones. Like you said, oh, there's no way. And after a while, it became almost like, okay, well, what character that I like are they going to actually just build up really, really well so they can just kill him off? because that's sort of the evolution of what Game of Thrones became. But what was really interesting about Game of Thrones was every single time something like that happened, it felt really earned in the first 4 seasons or so. It really felt earned. It really felt like, hey, I can see why this happened. Even though I don't like it, I can see why. And what's happened now with Hollywood, and it happened in Game of Thrones, when Game of Thrones itself jumped the shark basically in the last 2 seasons, like maybe last 3.5 seasons or so, is they started basically doing stuff because they didn't have the source material. By the way, it's important to note that they'd run out of source material with Game of Thrones. They ran out of the book material that George R. Martin had done. They ran out of it. And they started having to come up with their own ideas. Hollywood did. And George R. Martin himself basically backed out. He basically said, I haven't finished the books. I'm not going to participate anymore. The only spoilers for Game of Thrones is who survives from Ronnie Shex. Yeah, I agree with that. But it's like, what happened was they ran out of the source material, and then they started having to go the Hollywood route and using the very stupid Hollywood cliches to get to the end, because they knew what the end was, but they didn't know how to get there because George R. R. Martin hadn't written the books. So they decided to go ahead and just do it the Hollywood way, and they did a complete hack job. It had nothing to do with define your expectations in the sense that, oh, well, I really wanted this character to survive, or I really wanted this to happen to this character, because Game of Thrones was all about making you feel bad. The character you wanted to live died. The person you wanted to have success, they didn't make it. That was what Game of Thrones was always about. But what they did at the very end was they got to where they were supposed to be, according to what George R. R. Martin had said the ending was going to be. But it was all the stuff that led up to it where you were just like, that didn't make any sense. They did such a great job establishing the characters and their motivations and why they did the things that they did and why they were the way they were. And you really kind of understood the world. And then at the end, everything just got sped up, like they were just sick of doing this. And they just decided to get to the end. Right. And with WandaVision, I feel like it's such a great example of that kind of lazy Hollywood writing, where basically they wanted to go somewhere, where they wanted to go, I think I don't even understand it, to be honest with you. I think they just wanted a new costume, maybe a new toy. I don't know. And they basically, you start realizing nothing that happened before made any sense. And at the end, you're left with the little teasers that are basically trying to string you along to say, oh, well, we'll cover that later. You know what I mean? We're gonna finish that later. In other words, keep coming, keep giving us money. The cash grab continues. So that's my impression. I don't really know if I have a whole lot more else to say about the episode, quite frankly. I was very disappointed. I felt like I spent a lot of time on this. And at the end of the day, I felt it was just a classic example of lazy writing.
Okay. My opinion is going to differ. I felt like, in all honesty, while I enjoyed a lot, there was a lot of stuff I enjoyed in the finale. I did feel like that there was kind of some stuff that I don't really honestly feel like they quite paid off in the best manner. When we get into spoilers, I can get a little bit further into that. But Eric and I are going to be on different sides of this, because I feel like part of the thing with WandaVision is the journey. We had a couple episodes before the finale that were pretty amazing. If you're invested in those characters, the things that were talked about, the things that were revealed, and they were pretty emotional. And I the whole time, especially with the episode before the finale, I kept going, this episode is so powerful. If you're invested in this story, I don't quite understand how they're going to pay this off. Plus, I'm going to tell you right now, I feel like part of the reaction of the fandom community also can be attributed to the fact that there was a little bit of trolling that went on with this, in terms of like them teasing too many things and allowing the hype to kind of build too much. Not in the sense that they wanted people to watch it, but for example, Paul Bettany's like, oh, there's one big last reveal, and it's someone I've always wanted to work with. And I'm sure to him, he thought that was funny, and I'm sure somebody else thought that was fun, whatever. But when it turns out who it actually is, I feel like that's part of the letdown for a lot of people, because a lot of what we were hoping to see, a lot of the fan speculation that Marvel was fanning the flames for, they weren't able to pay that off. Whether they had, because of I've heard every reason under the sun that they had different things planned to do. We will get into that once we get in the spoiler conversation. They had different things planned to do that they couldn't do because of problems with the reshoots, because of the whatever's going on in the world. But here's the thing. I thought the finale was fun. And there's some things I really liked about the finale. And I quite like the new costume, by the way. But however, I do feel like that the 2 episodes before this were so good that the finale feel, even though it has some more action in it, like superhero-y action, you feel a little disconnected from it. You know what I mean? Because the 2 episodes before, for me personally, were so good that the finale just kind of doesn't quite click. But I don't feel like the show was a waste of time per se. Like I said, I enjoyed it overall. And when we get into spoiler talk, we can get a little bit further into that. Now, those of you in the Rogues Gallery, want to encourage you to please comment during the show. Now that we've given you our initial spoiler-free impressions of it, we would like to hear yours. Now, in order to encourage this, we like to give people fun things. So for tonight, we've got some Marvel trading cards. This is Impel, the Impel Series 3 Marvel cards we're giving away tonight. And for those of you that did enjoy WandaVision, and I did enjoy the series as a whole, but I feel like the 2 episodes before the finale were a lot stronger. We got some fun cards to give away. All right, so the first one we're giving away tonight, this is actually, see if I can catch it in the light. This is actually the West Coast Avengers card. You can see there's Wanda right there on the side. There's also U.S. Agent. U.S. Agent's possibly going to be showing up in the Falcon Winter Soldier. He's in the trailer. That's not a spoiler. Also, 2 we have for tonight, the first of the Marvel Masterpiece cards. This is the Vision Masterpiece card. This is from a later series. We're giving away this one as well. And the other one we're giving away for tonight, this is the big one, everyone. This is Impel Marvel Series 3. This is actually the Vision and Scarlet Witch card. There you go. We're giving that away tonight. All you need to do to be entered in to win these cards is basically just comment during the Rogues Gallery during the course of our episode tonight. Just tell us what you thought of WandaVision. Positive, negative, whatever. We'll get into spoilers here in just a few minutes. And we are doing an after the show card as well, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But again, all you need to do is comment. Once you comment, you're entered into the contest to win. And you can comment at any point during the show to be entered into the contest for this evening. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't pay postage. You don't do nothing. We contact you. We get your address. And then basically they're just sent to you. We basically collect the comments in the show. We figure out who won. We contact you. They come in the mail to you. Doesn't cost you anything. You ain't got to do nothing weird. You ain't got to sign up for nothing. You ain't going to put your information in nothing. You ain't got to do nothing. Just comment during the show. That's it. All right. So enough about that. Let's say hi to some people here in the Rogues Gallery. I saw that Jane was here. Hi, Mom. Jane's here.
Hey, Jane. Good to see you. And of course, PJ from Marvel Nation.
Yeah,
he's in the house.
Hey, PJ.
PJ, it's always great to see you. We really appreciate the support. I think you got a little bit of an answer to your question already if Dave is on the other end of this. And interestingly enough, you also mentioned you haven't seen it. So you are part of the demographic of why we do spoiler-free at the beginning of each episode. And if you don't want to be spoiled, we totally understand you bowing out. And maybe you can always come back later, maybe around the hour mark when we are hopefully moving on to something else. Maybe even before then. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where the night takes us, right? We do appreciate the love, PJ. He says, gotta love the Retro Row guys, and we love Marvel Nation. Again, I've always said this. You're like our biggest supporter out there as far as the other content creators out there, and we really appreciate it because you make a difference when you retweet our stuff. It actually makes a difference, and we always see more activity in the Rogues Gallery when you do that. So thank you very much. And then Ronnie had a comment when I was talking about Game of Thrones. He says, please don't bring up season 8. I totally understand that, Ronnie. I think WandaVision is kind of the season 8 type of thing, but hey, that's as far as I'll get into it. I won't won't delve into it any further than that because I was very disappointed in season 8 of Game of Thrones as well. And then let's see. Now, Ronnie does say he thought the series was really good, but like you said, the expectations due to the hype were extremely high. The trolling was a bit extreme and off-putting. Aside from that, I enjoyed the finale. So there you go. Glad you enjoyed it, Ronnie. I always feel like if you like something, that's great. Good for you, man, because at the end of the day, we all have our own opinions. And at the end of the day, it's just a television show. That's what it is. True. So, and ultimately it's going to entertain you or it's not. It really just comes down to that. And
John McClay is here. Hi, John. Nice to have you here. Here's I don't know how much more I can say before we get into spoiler territory with this. I really feel like, in all honesty, that they kept hyping these cameos, and then that just set basically, the fandom community, their imaginations running wild because we already know the title for the Doctor Strange sequel, which we know is Multiverse of Madness. Plus, there was the Spider-Verse movie, that introduced the idea of alternate realities. And I feel like a lot of people were hoping to see some more interconnected Marvel stuff. And like Ronnie, my brother, said, he talks about, the expectations were really high due to the hype. And I really feel like that at the end of the day is what kind of takes a little bit of the wind out of the sails of the finale, because we're wanting to see how this connects to the concept of the multiverse. Now, I don't get to say this very often, but judging by this initial reaction, and again, I liked WandaVision, the series. I liked the finale. I feel like the 2 episodes before were so powerful and so good and so entertaining that even though this has more obvious superhero action, I feel like the anticipation for what's coming for me was a lot stronger than the actual finale itself. My imagination, when I was, and we talked about that last week. I had some crazy speculations about some fun things I was hoping was going to happen that would actually lead into, hopefully, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And they did none of it. Basically did none of it. Now, obviously, that's not a big deal, but I could see how a lot of people could feel a little let down.
Let's get the spoiler warning going there.
Okay, all right. All I said
I am curious, by the way, if you're still around, or anybody else who hasn't been watching this, I am curious, why aren't you watching it? Because I've actually done a lot of soul searching about this since watching the series finale, because we spent a lot of time on this. Dave and I have spent a lot of time on the show. In fact, we have episodes of the Retro Rogues Live where virtually 2/3 of it, no, 3/4 of it, 3/4 of it is about this damn show. Okay, and that's how I'm referring to it at this point. And we haven't got a lot back on that investment, Dave. We really haven't. The thing that's blown up for us is the Marvel trading cards. Okay, that's blown up for us. That's really done well. Another thing that blew up for us is Babylon 5. Talking about Babylon 5 is blown up for us. Those are the things that have resonated. You know what I mean? And actually, we're getting comments, we're getting views. Heck, we even got we did a thing where we were talking about Paramount Plus when Paramount Plus was really being hyped. And that got some good attention. You know what I mean? But we spent an awful lot of damn time on WandaVision. And we're talking like 24 views. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm just throwing it out there. That's part of the frustration. It's not just the show. It's life getting in the way of it as well. And the realities of all the time we've invested in this. And then at the end of the day, I'm just like, oh, I didn't like it. You know what I mean? So I want to put that out there because that is part of it as well. I can't just separate the two. But we've had numerous people come on the show, commenting, and they said, I'm not watching this. And it does make me curious, like, how popular is this show? Now, I do have the Nielsen ratings later for Streaming Wars if we get to that. But I just think it's kind of interesting because I've heard that several times in the Rogues Gallery where people are like, I'm not watching it. You know what I mean? I haven't seen the show. And I think I don't know if PJ's still around, but I think PJ was initially watching it and then he just started watching something else. I know he does a lot of stuff with Dark Matter. He has a whole show devoted to Dark Matter now as part of his channel that actually has creators from the show involved with it. which I think is really cool. That's a show I haven't checked out myself yet, but I am interested in simply because he's covering it. But there are a lot of people that aren't watching this, or there are people that just were, I think, tuned out after the first couple episodes, because the first couple episodes, the first 3 episodes or so, are very different than what comes after. And that was one of the other things that I brought up in some of our reviews, was they kept changing the format of the show. It starts out and it's very much engrossed in that sitcom world. And there were people who love that. And I wasn't one of them. There were people that absolutely loved that. They were really into that. But then it shifted. And then we got to see what was actually happening in the outside world. Then they tried to sort of do a hybrid, right? And they kind of went back and forth. And at the end, they did something even different from that. You know what I mean? So it's like the format of the show itself seems like it was constantly changing. And I think for a lot of fans, if you liked one aspect, like if you really like, say, the sitcom part, I can't see how you wouldn't be disappointed later on, because later on had nothing to do with that, and we are in spoilers. So, I can say that, it's like, so I don't know. It's a confusing show. That's the bottom line. And I thought it was confusing from the beginning. And to me, it was all about that payoff. And I think there's no middle ground on that. Either you liked it or you didn't. You know what I mean? Either the payoff was good for you or it wasn't,
Well, now that we're in the spoilers, I want to talk about some of the things I liked about the show. I'm not going to dwell on it too much. But the big thing for me is I love the stuff that they did with the Visions, and specifically White Vision. I thought all that stuff was a lot of fun. We got some great superhero battles where Vision was fighting another version kind of himself with similar powers. And that's actually, there's a classic, well, in my mind anyway, a classic Avengers storyline that involves a team called the Gatherers. And in that, they have a vision from an alternate reality, alternate universe that's actually a part of their team in that comic book series. And they actually battle each other, the 2 different visions. And I kind of had flashbacks to that, watching that sequence play out. I had a lot of fun with that. And I like the fact that we did see that he is kind of like Data, you know what I mean? And he's a little disconnected and he doesn't really have emotions. And one of the biggest questions, in all honesty, for this show is when he says, "I am Vision," and he flies off, is like, where does it go? What does he do? I actually had Sarah Aerosmith, who actually designed the Brains Are Magic t-shirt that we talked about last week. We're going to talk about that again in the promotion section just briefly again. Sarah actually messaged me and was asking my questions about, where do I think Vision went? You know what I mean? And I'm going to be honest with you. After I went back and looked at some old comics and thought about some things and looked at some things, and I honestly don't have any more theories about where Vision might have gone. My only thought is that with all of his memories intact, knowing what potentially Wanda might do in the future, maybe he went to go tell Doctor Strange or get Doctor Strange to help because he's concerned about the path that she may be on, maybe worried about the kids. I don't know. I don't know where Vision went. I'm going to be honest with you. The more I thought about it, the more I don't have any theories at all. I
have the definitive theory. I have the definitive theory, Dave. He basically went to the next Disney project to make them more money.
Okay, well, there you go. But
that's where you went.
Now, I did, and here's the thing. I did feel like that, and I talked to a friend of mine outside of the Retro Rogues group. I talked to a friend of mine who's a coworker at the day job, and we were talking about WandaVision. He liked the show too, but he also had similar feelings about the finale, that he felt like it was good, but it just kind of was missing some things. And in the midst of our conversation, I brought up something that I had actually heard. I watched a chat with the director of WandaVision, and he said that originally Senor Scratchy, the rabbit, that they had this whole sequence plan where he was going to mutate into a monster, and then this creature was going to basically fight Monica Rambeau, the Captain Marvel I grew up reading as a kid, and actually Quicksilver or Boner or whatever the hell his name is, that character, because that's part of the problem.
Somebody wrote that. Somebody wrote that, Dave. Somebody actually sat down and wrote that. Somebody sat down and wrote that. That's what I love.
And I really, really like Evan Peters as Quicksilver. Like, he's one of the best parts of the X-Men movies. And the fact that they didn't really fully explain that to me is still really annoying. Because that did really bother me, that I felt like we never really got a real answer for what's going on there. And I feel like they left it open-ended so they could revisit it down the road if they want, which is fine. But seriously, that really bothered me, that whole thing. But they had this whole sequence planned.
As Ronnie says, Ralph, don't get me started.
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
And that's the thing, is as much as there's things I really enjoyed about the finale, upon the second viewing, there's a lot of things about the finale that did kind of bother me. And that's why I started off my, spoiler-free part of this review by saying that, I felt like that Marvel did way too much trolling to build the hype train for this. I don't feel like they needed to do as much as they did. But
Ronnie did have a theory too, an actual in-universe theory, where he says, I would say he goes off to the West Coast Avengers, but I have learned from this show to not get my hopes up. And I think your theory is as good as anybody else's, Ronnie. And honestly, you never know. You never know what they're ultimately going to decide to do. You assume Kevin Feige at some level is overseeing everything. I mean, that's his job, right? So to make sure this stuff will jive with the other shows and movies and all that kind of stuff, and things lead into other stuff. But you never know, because you know what? Everybody's human, and sometimes they drop the ball and they don't know what the hell they're doing either. And they mess up and they do something stupid. So you never know. He could have gone off to the West Coast Avengers. But as you said, that's one thing I don't like, is like, I don't want to like lower my expectations. I want my hopes to be elevated. I want my hype level to be up there. I want to be excited about the possibility of what might be happening in the next iteration. But right now I feel like, why am I wasting all this time thinking about this? You know what I mean? That's how I feel at the moment. And Hollywood Jackson actually had a comment earlier where I was talking about, what people are watching and all that kind of stuff. And he had a nice comment here. He says, I just watched the Retro Rogues, but it's always 10 a.m. on the Price is Right channel.
Yeah, that's true.
I've been meaning to check that out too, by the way, Hollywood Jackson, the Price is Right channel. That's the classic one, right, with Bob Barker on it. So I'm totally with you on that one.
And I felt like that John did have, again, I feel like John kind of agrees with me, because I really felt like the Vision was I enjoyed the stuff with Wanda, and she's clearly the star. But I really enjoyed the stuff with Vision the most. And he says that Paul had some great lines in the finale. I exceptionally liked the comments on Vision's birth and death and the curiosity of what he may become as he faced yet another. And I thought that was really interesting too.
Yeah. And that's the thing that's kind of interesting too, is there's this element in the episode that basically talks about, what is life, and, the whole philosophy of the origins of life you could get into. And I found myself thinking about some of that, but I was like, why am I thinking about this on this show? You know what I mean? I was like, a show with Ralph Boner. You know what I mean? I'm like, no, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to start thinking about that. There was another line that kind of got to me a little bit, a personal thing where we have Monica's explanation of why she's willing to just forgive Wanda for all the bullshit she just did, because she did some majorly bad stuff. It's kind of all glossed over. Monica basically is like, oh yeah, I forgive you because, if I could bring my mom back, I would. Really? That's the way you would bring her back? Really? Seriously? You know what I mean? I just lost my dad in August, and I'm just like, no, that's not okay. It's really not. It's really not. And and ultimately, even Wanda said that's not Vision. That's basically her idealized version of Vision. That's basically a projection of herself. It's not Vision, because Vision's like a whole nother person. You know what I mean? Artificial, but he's still a person, right? And that's not, you can't, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. The way, even if you use the in-universe philosophy or the in-universe explanation of stuff, it's not them. You know what I mean? It's just that sort of a projection, sort of an idealized version of that person. It's not really them, because you can't do that, So anyway, I don't know. This thing was frustrating for me on so many different levels. It's just, it's tough. It's tough for me to talk about. I think you're muted, Dave.
and we're having some computer issues here because I'm clicking things and they're taking forever to respond. Um, and for me, it was frustrating too because, like I said, I put all these predictions out for this particular episode about all these fun things they could do, and essentially they did none of them. And that's fine. But I felt like that it kind of lacked some of the fun things that we've come to expect from the Marvel universe, which is the interconnected idea. You know what I mean? Because in the old days, the big question you would ask yourself is, all this stuff is happening over here. Why didn't, in the DC universe, the question used to be, well, if all this stuff's happening in Gotham City, if it's being razed to the ground, or the world's in jeopardy, where's Superman? Where's Wonder Woman? Where's the Flash? Like, these are the questions we always find ourselves asking. It's like, well, where are these other heroes? So when they kept talking about the team, I just assumed that we would see War Machine, that there was, because we know War Machine's coming up. I kept thinking that we were going to have that interconnected idea, and we were done with this insular globe idea. Like, all that happens is just in this small package. Nothing exists beyond this. But I also thought it was weird when you talk about these many people affected, the potential reality itself being affected, magic being used on a level that summoned Agatha, right? Like, it summoned Agatha, like she was drawn to it like a moth to a flame, so to speak. And yet Doctor Strange, we don't even get a tease of Doctor Strange in the end. He's not even at the end. He's having like, I sense a disturbance in the force. Like he's reading a book. Like, I sense a nothing, absolutely nothing. So that kind of stuff does bother me, because I feel like that's totally ignoring the idea of what the MCU is. That's what the Marvel Cinematic Universe is. And if there's something over here, potentially the ripple will be felt on this other side. And I thought that was kind of weird that there could be this much manipulation of a group of people, right? Enough magic usage that it summons Agatha from somewhere, right? And all this other stuff. And it's like, and we didn't even get a little teaser of Doctor Strange going, oh, what was that? Like, it was just, I just thought it was weird. I really thought it was weird. Again, I did not hate the finale. I enjoyed this series overall. 2 episodes before the finale, I think, were the high points, though.
Yeah, I thought it was really strange just from a marketing standpoint that we didn't get anything about Falcon or Winter Soldier. I mean, just from a pure dollars and cents, as skeptical as you can get, it seems very odd to me that we did not get anything to tease Falcon and Winter Soldier at all. And U.S. Agent, that's a perfect example of something they could have done, because, as Dave said, he does arrive in the next show. That's in the trailer. That's actually, you can, look it up on IMDb and all the casting and stuff like that. Because Ronnie, you say that you hope a U.S. Agent arrives in the next show. That's what's been purported is going to happen. You would have thought they would have done something, you know what I mean? Something with that, or again, just something, even if just Falcon briefly showed up, or somebody, you know what I mean? Bucky, War Machine. There were lots of possibilities here, and they didn't go with any of them. And to me, just again, from just a dollars and cents standpoint, I'm like, why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? Because, and this is kind of destroying the precedent that the MCU has always had. This is basically our first MCU television show, right? And all the movies always were interconnected, going all the way back to the Hulk, right? Which some people sometimes forget that the Hulk was an MCU movie. That kind of helped started it all after Iron Man, right? And that little teaser. And it's like those teasers always helped us lead into the next iteration. So we kind of had some indication of where the story was going. And, even if you didn't like that particular movie, you kind of felt like you had something to look forward to, because I don't like all the Marvel movies necessarily. Certainly not. They're not all on the same level to me. Age of Ultron sticks out as one I really don't like. So it's like, it's kind of interesting, because even if you had that, well, you got that you waited for that teaser at the end. Well, maybe something better is going to happen in the next movie, and I can be excited about it. None of this stuff is going to happen in Falcon and Winter Soldier. None of the payoffs are going to happen either with Monica Rambeau and her little revelation, or what happened with Wanda and the whole Scarlet Witch thing. None of that stuff's going to be happening in Falcon and Winter Soldier. I can tell you that. I'll make that bold prediction. You know what I mean? So it's really weird, just again, from that cynical dollars and cents marketing standpoint, that they didn't do that, especially when it's been so well established within the MCU in the past.
For sure, for sure. And then John has a comment here. He says, the Mind Stone was a part of who Vision was. You may think of it as his soul, if you'd like. And Wanda was still connected to the thing that gave her her powers. So the Vision we see in the show is very much a part of the real Vision. Yes, and I saw that too. He says, Paul Bettany, again, has, for example, like, talk about having great lines. He says, I'm a memory made real, right? I mean, Paul Bettany has the best lines in this whole show. Man, he gets some amazing lines to deliver. And I agree with you, John. And I honestly think that eventually this version that we saw in this show is eventually going to manifest into Wonder Man. I am not giving up on that. It's going to be way down the road if they even revisit this idea, this concept. But I do still think that the potential is there for them to do more. It almost feels like they had some fun, daring things that they wanted to do in this show in terms of the interconnected MCU, and then they pulled back for whatever reason. Because there's so many loose threads that they could have pulled on that they just left. So it was a little frustrating for me, for sure. All right. So, and this is again a good point. Ronnie brings up Jimmy even called Cliff. That's exactly right. He didn't call anyone we'd ever heard of. He called Cliff. Cliff at the FBI is who he called. I just thought, yeah, and see, that's the thing. It's like, if the Avengers still exist in some form and they're supposed to be protecting the planet, the fact that absolutely nobody showed up, even in the aftermath of this, after it was over with, is really weird that absolutely nobody showed up. I just thought that was
we
really
could even
strange.
get Falcon as part of the cleanup team. Falcon could even be part of the cleanup team, apparently. It was the FBI. I mean, come on. That's lame.
And it was also too, I felt it was weird that they had Vision fly off and they didn't even tell us anything about it, because I mean, it'd been really fun. Like, for example, like when he flies off, later on, you see him at the house of Doctor Strange. He's knocking on the door and Doctor Strange answers the door and he's like, yes. And he's like, I have some questions, you know what I mean? Or something interesting to continue this at least existential debate about.
But that's too obvious. That's too obvious. Dave, that's so obvious, Come on, we got to defy these people's expectations. So we got to make it suck. That'll defy their expectations. Because up until this point, the MCU was good.
Well, and I was so excited to see Monica Rambeau use more of her powers, and I was really excited to see more. And they barely did anything with that too. And then judging by the little teaser we got with her, we're going to have to wait for Captain Marvel 2. When in the world are they even filming Captain Marvel 2? Like, it's like, I don't know. That's really, really far off in the distance if we have to wait that long. I found that was a little frustrating.
Is like, when you're talking about the Marvel, the actual cinematic universe in terms of actual cinema, the only thing we really have going that's really solid right now is Black Widow. And of course, the big question is whether that's even going to come out in the theaters or not. Okay. That's still a question mark up in the air, even though Bob Chapek recently said that's still the plan for it to come out in May and all that stuff. And it's going to come out in the theaters. But that's all really we have that's like really solid right now. We have these other names that are out there like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, right? There's some other projects they've announced, but really the actual stuff we're getting is the TV shows, right? It's WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, and the Loki show. That's solid. That's happening. In fact, we don't even know if Black Widow ultimately is going to be connected to anything or it's just a one shot. I mean, it is a prequel. So for all we know, it's not going to lead into anything, So who knows at this point? It's really just strange to me. It really is, especially, the fact that they didn't provide any connection to this show to Falcon and Winter Soldier. I don't get it.
I thought it was really strange too. Not Doctor Strange 2, just Strange also 2. All right.
As Ronnie says, where are they?
Yeah, where are they?
Where is everybody? This is the question I had. This is the one thing that made Superman weird to me when I saw it in the movie theater. I was like, where the hell's Batman? Where's Wonder Woman? Where are all of his friends? I still feel like that. And the MCU was always so good about not being that way. and making sure we did realize that there was a bigger interconnected world, that there was at least a throwaway line that Thor's in Asgard or whatever. You know what I mean? He's on the seventh dimension or something stupid, but at least we got something, you know? Here, there's nothing.
Well, and I want to bring this up too, because Ronnie makes a good comment. He actually says that, you know, where are the fracking X-Men? They are sitting on a gold mine. I agree with you, Ronnie. I totally agree with you. And let's go ahead and throw this out here just real quick. When we get to the Collector's Corner, I'm playing it safe with my speculation on the Collector's Corner for tonight, because I got burned and I learned my lesson from the last one. So we're going to be playing it safe with the Collector's Corner and the expectations. So I only have one that potentially connects to the Falcon and Winter Soldier. And then the rest, I think, are actually genuine long-term plays, irregardless of what happens. That's what we're going to be doing tonight on the Collector's Corner. And talking about where are the fracking X-Men? Well, here's one of the fracking X-Men right here. This is Beast. This is one of the Impel Marvel trading cards. This is going to be the card that you can win for commenting after the show tonight. That's right. That's for the after show portion. So all we're going to do is when the actual clips go up on YouTube, or even if this when it eventually goes live on, Facebook, Twitch, wherever, all you need to do to enter into the contest to potentially win this is just leave a comment. Just leave a comment. We throw everyone's name into a hat. We draw them out. We notify you. You get it in the mail. It may take a little while for you to get it in the mail because we all know how the mail system's running right now. But basically, it just shows up. You don't have to do anything. It doesn't cost you anything. It just shows up. We want to thank you for being a part of the Retro Rogues Live and being part of the Rogues Gallery. All right.
Incidentally, I'm curious, Dave, if you, Ronnie, or anybody else in the Rogues Gallery has heard the buzz about this Mutants project, which is supposed to be the introduction of the X-Men in the MCU. Have you heard about that?
I have heard about it. I've heard that they're going to retitle it as the Mutants instead of calling it the X-Men.
Yes.
I guess because calling it X-Men is too limiting for whatever reason. I mean, I guess that's why they're wanting to do that. I don't know. Yeah, I have heard that. I didn't want to talk about it too much tonight because I'm going to be honest with you. Let's have a brief conversation about what happens with quote unquote insider information in relation to Marvel on YouTube and the rest of the larger internet world. Okay. I'd say 90% of everything we heard in relation to WandaVision turned out to be utter horseshit. All right. So like fake clips from fan things that look so legit, they were fooling people. Like there's much to blame for the super high expectations for the finale as anything else. And while it's great to have a hype machine like that to get people excited, it can also lead to disappointment as well, because you get people thinking in ways that maybe they're doing too much world building in their own mind. So to be honest with you, Eric, I saw that and I don't know how true, not true it is. So I don't want to talk about it because that's what I'm saying. It's like, if you look at all the insider reporting of all these things, Evan Peters is Quicksilver, Magneto's going to show up. Oh, the Fantastic Four are going to introduce. Oh, like this and that. And like, it was just, there was so much nonsense that turned out to be utterly false. I mean, utterly false. I would just avoid all of it. I would, when you see Kevin Feige walk out on stage and he says, "Hey, here's what we're doing," and they put up a graphic behind it, you can take that to the bank. Other than that, I don't know how much I trust it right now. I really don't, because I don't believe any of that stuff right now.
Well, I think that there's basically a line there when it comes to that kind of hype machine, if you will. There are people who deliberately mislead and try to make it out like they have insider information when they don't. There are people that do that. Okay, there's no doubt about that. I don't support those people. They do show up on my damn Google feed sometimes, and it really pisses me off. In fact, there was one that just happened, and I actually had said to Google, "Stop showing me crap from this site." And guess what? I got another thing from that site because they were talking about WandaVision. In other words, the algorithm gets all screwed up, right? They know I'm looking at a lot of WandaVision stuff. Google knows that, right? They got me pegged because I'm looking at WandaVision stuff all the time for this show and because I'm watching the show. And these stupid and these are like shill organizations too, because there's another aspect of that too. There are the people that are basically pretending they have inside knowledge and they don't. And then there are people that are just shills, right? They're just going to do whatever they feel the corporate elites want them to do, and they're going to echo that sentiment. They're going into damage control mode because apparently these massive companies can't have their own damage control people to fix these messes they create. And the blog I specifically saw was where they were trying to compare WandaVision to The Last Jedi and basically making an argument for both, which made me vomit, because this is the kind of stuff Google should know I would want nothing to do with. In fact, again, I actually clicked on that particular venue weeks ago and said, Google, stop sending me stuff from this blog because they're bullshit shills and I don't want to hear crap from them anymore. But it showed up on my thing anyway. My larger point is sometimes you don't go looking for this stuff. You don't. You just fall into it because that's what these organizations do. That's what these mega media places do. The algorithm gets screwed up and they keep sending you this crap that you don't want. But on the other side, I have no problem with fans coming up with their own theories and their own stories, which quite frankly, I think are much better than anything Disney's doing right now. Because I think that you can see that in Star Wars. You can see that in Marvel. You can see that in Disney in general. I think the fans come up with much better stuff than the writers in Hollywood do.
Well, the fan theory and the fan speculation, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about
I'm trying to make a separation between those two things.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The fan speculation is fun. That's entertaining. What I'm talking about is the supposed insider information where they heard this from this, or this scooper told them this, or this other thing, or whatever, because so much of that stuff turned out to be false in relation to WandaVision. And I feel like that it hurt a lot of people's, initial reaction to the finale of WandaVision, because I feel like it gets you in a different headspace. You know what I mean? And then when the payoff isn't there, it's really disappointing because you're like, but so-and-so said such and such in this other thing. Why didn't that happen? And I'm a little bit, affected by that too. I mean, some of our speculation that I had was basically spoofing off of other people's theories. You know what I mean? And then a little bit of the insider information. But eventually at one point I learned to stop paying attention to that. But it's just kind of weird how much of that there is where they say they know something or they heard something from somebody and it all turns out to be completely 100% patently false. It's just crazy, But on this show,
what's really bad is you do have venues where they really try to make it like I have insider information, right. Whereas there are other ones that will tell you, hey, regard this as rumor. This is just something that I heard. This is something that was sent to me, and I'm just telling you because I think it's interesting. And it's all. I think it's all in the way that you present it. If you present it as something that's really factual and like this is it, like you're acting like the National Enquirer. You know what I mean? Pretending all your fake stories are real, which by the way, they do occasionally get real stories, but I'm just saying most of it's bullshit. Right. So it's like, when that's the problem. That's the problem is when you try to pass yourself off as sort of, quote unquote, legitimate news and you're really not, but James is back and James says he's here to save the day. And we appreciate you because I don't think we've heard from you in a while. So it's good to have you out there and commenting. And we definitely need some comments here from the Rogues Gallery. Hollywood Jackson says, the hype machine, where can I get one? Right. Yeah, we need one here on the Retro Rogues for sure, because that does help. It does get, whatever you say about it, it does get people watching. It does get people looking at this stuff. And that's what they want, right? They want people to watch this stuff. They want people to get Disney Plus. But my question is, do you burn a lot of people when you do that, right? So you get new people, but then they're disappointed because what they thought was going to happen didn't happen. And then they're like, you know what? Screw this. I'm canceling my subscription. So Disney has to be careful with that as well. Right. It says, James also says, maybe we'll get something in Doctor Strange for Wanda. I think that's still sort of the expectation. I guess is the best way to put it. At this point, I have no idea because they are doing such weird things over there. Who knows? Because we've said it a million times just now. It's like we didn't feel like we got anything for Doctor Strange from WandaVision. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, that's what everybody thought. But hey, we got to defy those expectations, man. Got to defy those expectations. Let's see. What else have we got? Some of them are out of context now. I'm sorry, because sometimes we miss it when you're talking, and then I forget what it was we were actually talking about when you made the comment. Then it's like, okay, now the comment doesn't seem to make any sense. Little inside joke, I think, from James. Google, show me more Picard. That's what I need, right?
No.
See, this is that's why it's nice to have somebody who's actually watched the show for a while, because that's a great inside joke right there. Yeah, Google, show me some more Picard, because that's what I want. I want all that Picard. I want all that Picard news. Yeah.
No Picard. Now, along those lines, again, James, thank you for commenting. Again, those commenting in the Rogues Gallery, unless you're posting spam. If you're posting spam, you're not entered in this contest. But for those people actually posting real comments based on the conversation we're having, we are giving away these Marvel trading cards. I want to show this off just one more time here real quick. Again, you can comment at any point during the show. Please live in the United States. This part of the contest is only active during the actual show. So one of the cards we're giving away here, this is the Avengers West Coast card from the Impel Marvel Series 3. We're also giving away one of our first Masterpiece card to actually show up. We've got the Vision. The Vision, this is from one of the later lines. We're giving away the Vision Masterpiece card. This is a beautiful, really great looking card. Again, all you have to do is comment during the show, but not be posting spam. And in addition to that, too, this is the big one for tonight. If you enjoyed WandaVision, like I said, I enjoyed the show. I just felt like the finale wasn't as strong as the last two episodes. This is Vision and Scarlet Witch. And this artwork, I don't know, you guys can't tell, but I was looking at it closer, and that signature right there that you can see in her cape, that is actually Brett Blevins' signature. And then when I started looking at it a little bit closer, lo and behold, this artwork is by Marvel legendary artist in my mind, Mr. Brett Blevins, who actually lives not too far from me and is actually a friend. Beautiful, beautiful card. We were saving this specifically for the finale. So there's some really fun cards. Again, thank you for all these commenting during the Retro Rogues Live portion. And again, for the after the show, we have an original Impel Beast card that we'll be giving away. And this is for actually after the show. If you comment after, we just throw all the names into a hat. We draw them out. We contact you. We ask for your address. The thing eventually shows up in the mail. Doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to do anything. It just arrives. You don't have to sign up for an email newsletter. You don't have to join Patreon. We're not even asking you to share the show. We'd like for you to, but we're not even asking you to do that. We just want you to be part of the fun conversation because we want to hear what you have to say. That's important to us. That's what we want to hear. We want to have a fun conversation here on the Retro Rogues Live. All right. Are we good talking about WandaVision? Because I feel like that we've kind of talked this to death.
I did want to put out the one thing that I liked, which I thought was the whole point of the show. So why not just at least put some attention on it? There we go. I think that's going to be a decent picture right there. Hey, her new uniform. Cool, huh?
I like the new costume. And I'll be honest.
No, I feel like that was the entire point of the show. That's my summation. That was the entire point of the damn show, was just to give us a cool new costume.
Well, and like, again, for me, like I said, I like the new costume. And it's weird because at the end of the day, instead of setting up Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, WandaVision is basically just an origin for Scarlet Witch. That's what it is.
Or as James says, maybe we're just plugging the new Share Show.
Hey, that new Share Show might be fun. You never know. Hey, if I could turn back time. All right.
Actually, I actually do like the new costume. I'm just saying, I felt like that was the entire point of the damn show, was just to put her in the costume.
Again, like I said, I really like White Vision or Spectral Vision or what do you want to call him. I mean, because to me, that's the Vision I grew up reading in the comic books. So I'm so happy that we actually have that version of Vision running around the Marvel Universe. There's a lot of fun stories they can do with that character. There was a really interesting fan edit of that scene, though, where the memory made real version of Vision, because like Hex Vision, what do you want to call him? Remember, he touches the stone on Spectral Vision or whatever's head, and he basically downloads his memories into his system, right? And he says, "I am Vision." He flies off. Someone had a really interesting fan edit of that, where he does that. He dumps the memories, and instead of the eyes turning the way that they do, and it seems like he is Vision, he actually says something like, it's James Spader's voice as Ultron, and he says, "You're so unbelievably naive," and his eyes turn red and he flies off. And it's almost like Ultron is back, but in Vision's body. That would have been an interesting way to go too, to be honest with you. But like I said, I feel like we got some really fun characters for the MCU. But yeah, I think everyone was expecting this to set up Multiverse or Madness and connect to the larger MCU. But at the end of the day, it's just an origin for Scarlet Witch and an origin for, Spectral Vision, White Vision, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah, Ronnie says, "I love the new suit. The point of the show was what Dave said as I was typing this."
Well, there you go. Of course, that is my brother, so I think he's kind of supposed to at least agree with me. All right. Okay, so do we want to move on from WandaVision, or?
Yeah, unless anybody in the Rogues Gallery has anything else that they want to throw out there, and yeah, otherwise, yeah, I don't really have much else to say.
All right. Well, you guys talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to get this next graphic ready to go.
Oh, actually, James has a good comment before you go. He said, "Does that make her a red skirt?"
Oh, well, I'm not going anywhere. I mean, theoretically, in a sense, I guess yes. It does.
And Ronnie does say he's excited for the action figures, finally getting a White Vision figure. There you go.
Yes. That's the big takeaway. Because that's the thing. It's like, for me, having grown up with that, because when I was reading comics, we had the classic Vision for a little while, but he was kind of on, sort of the way out, and then eventually we got this other version of Vision, which is the one that we have now, and I'm really excited that we have that version running around in the MCU. And I kind of like this suit, like the textures and everything. Like, I think it looks cool. So. Yeah, I'm excited for that.
No, I really do think it's about action figures at the end of the day. So I don't know. We'll see.
Well, but like I said, I didn't hate this show. John's got an interesting point. He says, "I just want to say, regardless of the end result, I applaud Disney for trying something different." And I could, like I said, I kind of agree with John. I could see where they were trying to do something different. Like I said, I don't hate the show. I enjoyed the show. I just really feel like those last two episodes leading up to the finale were so strong and so entertaining and so interesting that I feel like the finale had kind of a tough time trying to stick the landing to an extent. And I can see where some people were a little disappointed. Like I said, on the second viewing, I could kind of see what people were saying. I was like, well, I could see some of this.
Well, James, I don't know. He says it's still better than Wonder Woman 2. I really have to think that over. Those are two things I really don't want to think about. But yeah, I that would be an interesting comparison right there. WandaVision versus Wonder Woman 1984. Whew, what a discussion that would be.
Well, there's a thing that's been making its wave on the internet where someone actually, they have an animated intro for Wonder Woman 84 that kind of is similar to the Linda Carter television series intro. And I've had people, who hadn't even seen Wonder Woman 84 going, "Oh, is this the opening title credits for Wonder Woman 84? I might watch it now." Nope. No, it's not. It's just some fun little bit of promotion. It's not from Wonder Woman 84 at all, unfortunately.
The fans often do it much better. That's the bottom line. If you can take anything away from this, regardless of how you feel about this show, I'm telling you, the fans come up with a lot better ideas than they do in Hollywood. I'm telling you. All
right. So are we good to move on from WandaVision here and to talk about some other things?
Oh, yeah. I'm good for sure.
All right. So I was thinking it's okay with you, Eric. Maybe we'll do the collector's corner, and then we'll do the promotion part.
Well, we do have a little bit of house business to discuss. We have a little bit of house business to discuss here. So let me go ahead and stop that screen there. So we do like to talk about, our own projects and things that we're up to, during the show. And we have something here that actually crosses both planes. So for folks that aren't aware, obviously one of the sponsors of the show is Kirby Tees, and that's Dave's company. And he does a great line of t-shirts. And recently he was actually approached by Russ Emanuel, who's the director of Staycation and also Routine. Routine's the film that Dave actually worked on, and then Staycation's the film that I worked on. And Russell did this thing in Staycation where he had this in-universe product, and it was cigarettes. It was supposed to be a cigarette brand, and so it's an actual prop that's used in the movie, and it's got the logo for this fictional cigarette brand. And one of the perks that they did on the Staycation Indiegogo was you could get a shirt of that brand. So I got mine today, and this is from Kirby Tees. It is El Gato Cigarettes, which is a fictional cigarette brand. Anybody who knows Russell's like obsessed with cats. So he created this little brand. It's basically his. It's an in-universe brand in Staycation. And Kirby Tees did the shirts for the rewards, for the perks for Staycation. And like I said, I just got mine, and I'm very satisfied, Dave. I'm very, very satisfied with the product.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, it was fun to do that, to help out with Staycation. Continue my kind of association with it since I worked on Routine, you know what I mean? Which is kind of fun to be able to continue to make a contribution in any small way. And there's a lot of Kirby Tees t-shirt wearing on. There's a bootleg shirt I'm wearing here that Kirby Tees printed, but it was just a test print. Everybody, relax. You can't get this shirt, but I'll show you this right here. This is a Mike Magnola style Batman shirt. This is based off the way Mike Magnola actually draws the Batman emblem in the comic books. And I just always wanted one like that, and they would never frickin' make one. So I just made one for my own stupid self. So that's one of the fun things about when you own a t-shirt company, you can do stuff like that. But no, yeah, it was great to get to be a part of that and contribute. It was fun printing those shirts for everybody. I hope everybody likes them. They were made with a lot of love and a lot of care. So that's a fun thing. I'm glad to see you're happy with yours. And if you don't mind, Eric, I'll share my screen here. I want to show these off
just one second. We got a comment here. So Hollywood Jackson, you probably could, but I advise against it. Definitely advise against it.
All right, so I want to show these off here just real quick. This is the Kirby Tees website. I want to show these off just one more time. These are our new designs we've got here. This is Brains or Magic. This is by artist Sarah Aerosmith. It's a really fun parody t-shirt. It's got a really kind of cool design here. You can check that out over at kirbytees.com. I also want to show off, darn it, I can't get to the little arrows. I hate when I do this with the screen. Well, here we go here. I also want to show this off too. This is another one of our new designs. This is Skelethor. This is by those of you who are familiar with the show. This is by the Janimal. This is a fun Skelethor parody shirt. The artwork on all these shirts turned out really great. This is a collaboration between the Janimal and myself. This is a really fun, especially if you're an 80s kid. This is a really fun, kind of parody, but kind of a little bit metal too. Kind of a fun shirt here. And in addition to that too, we'll go ahead and show this off. I didn't talk about this last week, but this is another one of the new designs. This is the original Dragon Slayer shirt. Now this is an idea I had. This artwork's all by me, but we hope you go over there at kirbytees.com. Check it out. Consider purchasing one of these fun shirts over here at kirbytees.com. The artists who actually worked on these shirts actually get the lion's shares of the profits. So if you buy the Brains for Magic, Sarah Aerosmith sees a nice little bit of cash for that. If you buy the Skelethor, the Janimal is going to see a nice little bit of cash for that. If you buy this, the money just stays with Kirby Tees because I have a lot of equipment I have to pay off. But anyhow, enough about that. Definitely check that out over at kirbytees.com.
And John McClay says those look great.
Thanks,
Hollywood Jackson,
John. Appreciate that.
Hollywood Jackson,
yeah,
likes my favorite as well, Skelethor. I like Skelethor as well.
Skelethor is a lot of fun. I think they're all really cool. The original idea when I established Kirby Tees was to create a place where, like amongst my circle of, fellow artists and comic book artists and illustrators and stuff, to find a place where we could all work together to, sell their t-shirt designs and stuff, but actually make sure that they see the lion's shares of the profit. We still make the payments for the lights and everything we need to at Kirby Tees, but majority of the money actually goes to the artist. That's the thing that's a little bit different with what we're doing over here at Kirby Tees.
That's very cool. Very, very cool.
All right, very cool. Anything else you want to talk about house business wise?
No, I think we're
Okay.
good on that end. I wanted to show the Elgato shirt that I got. So,
all right, very cool. I'm going to let me get my next graphic up because I'm having some issues here with my machine lagging. But let me get this graphic fired
hey,
up
Dave,
here.
Ronnie says your sister-in-law wants the Brains as Magic shirt.
Okay. Okay. Well, just message me after the show and we could totally make that happen. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll share the screen here.
Collector's Corner.
Yeah, we're going to get in Collector's Corner. We got some fun books to talk about tonight. Okay, so here in the Collector's Corner, we're primarily talking about collectibles. We're talking about things like action figures, comic books. We're talking about things like trading cards, those fun things, statues, you name it. That's what we talk about Collector's Corner. We're looking at it from the standpoint of a collector, something you hopefully like to own, but also, secondly, occasionally, also looking at it from the standpoint of speculation, like could I buy this and hold on to it, maybe flip it for a couple dollars down the road. These are the fun things we talk about here in the Collector's Corner. All right, so for Collector's Corner tonight, for the comic book side, I have picked some interesting books I think are worthy of taking a look at. Now, these particular books, the reason that I picked them is because I feel like they're interesting long-term plays if you want to be those speculator flipper person. But the other thing that's interesting about these books, not only are they fun because they're cool just to have in your collection, they would look really good like on a shelf, or if you get a CGC slabbed and graded one, they would look really good on a wall. I mean, these are really fun books just to own because we've got some iconic imagery for sure in these comics. But more importantly than that, what's interesting about these books is you can pick these books up relatively cheap. These are books that you can pick up and add to your collection and hold long term. I don't think these books are going to continue to stay like as cheap as they have been. These are highly, highly I want to say undervalued, but not as in their value isn't great. But I mean, like in terms of what you pay for them, if you buy them, they're very undervalued. And two of these books, I'm still kind of shocked that you can go pick them up as cheap as you can. Now, our Falcon Winter Soldier play for tonight is going to be Marvel Premiere 49. This is from 1972. This is the Falcon's first solo story. Now, you can pick this up on places like eBay, Mercari, whatever, and you can pick this book up for less than $20. And this is Falcon's first solo story. In comparison, Moon Knight's first solo story right now is going for roughly anywhere from $200 to $250.
Wow.
So if Falcon picks up steam and if people like Falcon and Winter Soldier and if fans start looking for other Falcon things to add to their collection, this is an important part of history for the Falcon because it's his first solo story. But you can pick this thing up, again, like I said, for $20 or less right now. Once the show hits, I can't say that's going to stay the case. But right now, this is a fun book to pick up to hold on to for a long-term play. At least that's my opinion. Again, these are just my opinions. The second book that we have for tonight, this is Uncanny X-Men 212. This is from 1986. This is the first battle between Wolverine and Sabretooth in comics. This is the big one, everybody. This was the first time that we saw these two unleash on each other. This is a classic Marvel confrontation. And in the X-Men universe, this is as classic as in the Spider-Man universe when Spider-Man fights Green Goblin, for example. Like this, these are your class. This is Batman versus Joker. You know what I mean? This is a big deal, especially for a Wolverine fan. Here's what's interesting about this book, folks. If you pay attention and if you look, you can still pick this book up, again, for less than $20 or about $20. This is a great book. If you could pick it up for $20, you turn around, you get it graded, get it slabbed, you hold on to it for a long term. And maybe by the time the MCU starts rolling out the X-Men movies, this book might actually see a little bit of appreciation and value. Now, that's no guarantee, just my speculation. It's just my theory. But I'm kind of shocked that this book, you can still pick it up in really good shape for basically $20. Our last book for tonight is Punisher #1 from 1987. This is the Punisher's first solo series, all his own. He had the miniseries before then. The first issue of the miniseries is a little pricey, but this book you can, again, still pick up for basically $20 and sometimes even less. But this is another one of those fun books. You know, maybe by the time the Punisher makes it to the MCU, this book will maybe finally pick up some steam, because this is a great book. And look at how iconic that cover is. That cover is so iconic. And that's what I'm saying. If you look at this X-Men 212, you look at this Punisher #1, these are iconic covers. These are fun books to own. They're fun books to have in your collection. And in my humble opinion, if the MCU continues to build and add characters, by the time that we get to the X-Men, I can see this X-Men 212 going up in value. I can see this Punisher #1, if the Punisher comes to the MCU, going up in value. And if Falcon actually hits with people and really clicks and people really like him, I can see people starting to go back and collect a lot of those early Falcon stories. So this Marvel Premiere 49 from 1972 might also be an interesting speculative investment.
You know, I'm surprised that Punisher #1 isn't already really expensive. How much were you saying that goes for?
$20. Yeah,
really?
If you shop, and you don't have to shop around really hard, but you can pick it up for $20. And that's the thing. Sometimes you find these books, they're like on Mercari, you pick them up really cheap. Sometimes you can find them on eBay really cheap. A lot of people have started packaging them together. So I saw an auction actually on eBay earlier today that was like $40 that had X-Men 211, X-Men 212, and X-Men 213 all together, and a little, lot of books. And it was like, $40, and because that's the other one. The other side of this is 213, which is kind of their first rematch. The book says round 1, and then 213 is round 2. Again, that book also a classic cover. We may be talking about that next week. I'm still debating. But yeah, Punisher #1, you think it would be, kind of up there higher in value? It's interesting because there's a lot of Punisher books that are not, which I'm kind of surprised at, especially like when you look at Punisher's 3rd, 4th appearance. You can pick those books up. Actually, they're relatively inexpensive. It's kind of strange when you consider how popular the Punisher is, when you consider, the number of times his character has been adapted into live action, whether you're talking about television or movies. It's interesting that you can still, but this is a great book. This is a classic cover too. And like I said, if nothing else, you get it slabbed, it looks great to hang on the wall. But I do honestly believe that long term, that there's some investment potential in these particular books. And you could see what I said. I didn't go as heavy into the next show like I did on the last one. The last one, I was definitely just staying in the MCU based on what I was seeing on WandaVision. So for this show, we got the Falcon book here that I think is interesting because it's relatively inexpensive. It's an interesting book to have in your collection. But the #2, it's his first solo story. So if you want to stay in the current MCU, this is an interesting book to speculate on. However, these other 2 books, I definitely feel like these are definitely long-term interesting plays, because by the time the X-Men hit the MCU, whether they're called the Mutants or the Uncanny X-Men or whatever it is, Wolverine fighting Sabretooth is going to be a thing. And if they're anywhere near their classic costumes, I could see this book beginning to go up in value.
Very cool.
All right. So there you go. So these are the comic book side of this. I did have a little bit of a card thing I wanted to talk about. But for tonight, what I want to do on the card side is a little bit different from what we have been doing. Let me see if I can get the graphic to open up here without too much, hopefully, difficulty. All right, so on the cards tonight, we're going to be talking about DC cards. The reason being is because I feel like there's a lot of stuff that could potentially happen with the DC cards moving forward. Amongst a lot of the fans and the collectors and the people that are talking and speculating, a lot of people feel like that the Impel DC Cosmic cards might be the next set to kind of, begin to gather steam and break big. And for example, a box of DC Cosmic cards has actually gone up in value a good little bit. Not as high as the Marvel cards, but it has gone up. A case right now that's still sealed, it's about $450. Prior to that, it was obviously a lot less than that. And these are really great classic cards. One of the neat things about these is they have these kind of like heritage cards, as you see illustrated here. And in the Hero Heritage cards, you get these versions of the characters across time. You can see here we've got a Golden Age Flash, we've got a Silver Age Flash, we've got a modern Superman, we've got a Golden Age Superman. we've got a modern age Shazam, we've got a golden age Hawkman, we've got a golden age Blue Beetle. The artwork on these cards is really, really great. All original, created just for this particular set of cards. And it's just a fun set. Now, along those lines, one of the things that Eric and I had discussed moving forward was the possibility of actually doing some box breaks, right? Where we actually break open a box of cards. So along those lines, I'll show everybody this. That's what this is, everybody. This is a DC Cosmic Cards. This is an actual sealed, steel sealed case, still sealed box in the case, but a box right here. We're going to be breaking this on a live show somewhere down the road. Eric and I still need to make a decision about when we're going to do it. I hope these cards fared better than some of the other ones I've been having issues with. And then after this, the follow-up to that is actually going to be the follow-up set. The DC Cosmic Teams have got a box of those cards still sealed right here. We're going to crack these open too, see what kind of fun things we get out of it. And these cards, as we move forward, as we talk about these different fun comic book and genre retro type properties, we're going to continue to give away cards here on the Retro Rogue Show. Again, thanking those of you who are watching and enjoying our content and enjoying our show as a thank you for watching. We're going to continue to do that. But probably our first big box break is going to be these Impel DC Cosmic cards from 1991.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. We haven't done a box break on the show live before, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Because you never know, it could be like Al Capone's tomb. You open it up. That's the problem with those kind of things, right? In fact, I don't see a lot of people do unboxings live on the air, and that might be one of the reasons. For those of you not familiar with Al Capone's tomb, that was a infamous live TV special that was done years and years ago, where they thought that they were going to break into Al Capone's tomb live on the air, and when they did, it was like nothing. It was just a big hype machine, total letdown. They thought there could be Al Capone's treasure, or a cool car or weapons or who knows what, and it turned out to be like nothing. So hopefully we won't have that experience, and they won't all be bricked. That would be wonderful if all
that would be awful.
Were bricked.
That would be awful. We'll see. Now, I do have on the DC Cosmic Teams, this box right here, the DC Cosmic Teams, I have an almost complete set of these cards already. I am missing some, so I'm looking to kind of complete my set on this one. The interesting card to pull out of this, if you can actually find it, is actually the Swamp Thing hologram card. I'd love to pull one of those out of this particular set. I'm a huge Swamp Thing fan, and I'll be showing up some more comic book pickups as we go down. I have some things that are in the mail, but they're basically in the wind. I don't know when they're going to show up, but I'd love to get a Swamp Thing card out of this. That would be really fun, the hologram card. And then out of this one here, the DC Cosmic cards, the one I'd most love to pull out of this would actually be the Green Lantern hologram card. I think that would be really fun. But we'll have to see what actually comes out of these. Now, this I do have already a complete set of these cards, but some of my cards are a little beat up. They haven't fared as well because hardcore DC fanboy, so I was constantly pulling the cards out and looking at them and then putting them back to the thing and then bending up the corners and everything. So I'm looking to upgrade the cards that I have and have just a higher quality set. But then number two, like I said, the fun thing is when we give away cards here on the show, we could do a Hero Heritage set and we could give, the 3 Flash cards. So we could do the Hero Heritage for Green Lantern and give you the 3 Green Lantern cards, you know what I mean, for watching and supporting, hopefully commenting during the Retro Rogues. And it's kind of weird. It sounds kind of silly, but that's most of what I'm looking forward to, is having some fun cards to give away here on the show for those of you who enjoy the Retro Rogues live.
Yeah. And of course, cards have been doing well for us. We've been talking a lot about the Marvel Impel cards on the show, and we've been getting a lot of attention on the after show clips from people just all over the world, actually commenting about this phenomenon that has been the Marvel Impel cards. And it's really interesting to hear all these different perspectives people have about this and the speculative nature of the market, because it's exciting, right? You never know. You might have something that's worth a little bit of money. So it's been interesting, and I think everybody's trying to figure out what the next thing is going to be. That's something that's obviously you just don't know. And everybody's trying to wait for that next big thing because there's a huge backup on the Marvel cards because of the grading situation, where a lot of the grading entities are taking months and months, to actually get to these cards, and they're increasing the prices of grading a lot of these cards.
And along those lines, I did hear back from HGX. I heard back from someone, and they basically stated that they're not looking at grading. That's been the issue. That's why I haven't started the grading process with the cards, is because I'm having a hard time finding someone to do it. HGX said that they're 3 months out potentially from grading cards. And along those lines, I will show you guys some fun cards that we're going to have to give out here on the Retro Rogues down the road. These are some fun cards I recently got in. We're going to have a Moon Knight card actually to give away here on the show down the road. We're going to hold on to this till we get a little bit closer to actually the Moon Knight Disney Plus show. We've got a She-Hulk card here. Going to give that away here on the Retro Rogues Live. Again, we're going to wait till we get closer to the She-Hulk show, hopefully. And then this is a fun card I wanted to show you just because I know you liked the Doctor Doom last time, Eric, but here's a Doctor Doom card. The goal with this card is actually to get this one graded and then give this one away on the show down the road. But the problem is I can't find anybody to grade these cards. And just to give you an idea, I have a few cards to get graded, everybody. Just a few. Once I can find someone who wants to take my money, I get a bunch of cards graded, but it seems like nobody wants my money. It's really frustrating. So really frustrating.
There's a couple there. There's definitely a couple.
Just a few. And like I said, some of these shows we given away here on the Retro Rogues Live. All right, so I think that's good for the Collector's Corner, unless you want to talk about that tax thing, Eric. Do you want to bring that up here on the show?
Well, you're the one who initially brought it up to me.
Okay.
I do have the article that you're mentioning. I think I have it here. I did have it here. I thought I had it here. So gig workers could end up losers in COVID relief bill. There we go.
All right. So
we don't normally have political articles on here, but
this directly plays into what we're talking about. So here's the thing that's interesting about what's going on. And again, the goal here is to not get too political with this. The goal here is to just make sure that hopefully all of you are informed. Now, basically, in the COVID relief bill, there is basically some new tax reporting requirements that was basically in the COVID relief bill. And as it currently sits, as of tonight's show, March 10th, 2021, as it currently sits in the COVID relief bill, what they're previously to this, my understanding was if you sell, for example, like you sell stuff on eBay, right? Then basically it's set up where you had to do more than $20,000 over the course of 1 year, okay, one tax year essentially, right? Or more than 200 transactions, and then you are required to report on that income. Now, here's the weird thing. I report all my income. I pay all my taxes, so whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I pay all of it. So I've never really tried to do this, but apparently you weren't really required to report if you did eBay or transactions that went via PayPal or whatever. You were not technically required to report and pay on that income unless it was more than $20,000 or in a given year, or more than 200 transactions. Okay. Now, apparently that's changed. The way that's changed is that now it's $600. And then wherever you're selling or wherever you're doing these transactions, basically automatically they're supposed to send you a 1099 and you have to report the rest of that. Now, let me clearly state, I am not a tax professional. Eric is not a tax professional. We are not giving you tax advice in any stretch of the imagination. Okay. Go talk to your CPA, go find an accountant, go talk to an actual tax professional. All we want to do is let those of you who are collectors who flip stuff from time to time, just be aware that starting next year, based on the information that currently exists, the reporting laws are being changed, and you may be required to pay more in taxes for those collectibles or whatever that you sell down the road. And then there's additional implications too, where it's sort of like, how is this going to impact the collectibles market in general, right? Is this going to curtail from certain people from doing it? Or are people going to want to do more one-to-one transactions for cash? Are people going to want to do more trades than necessarily cash moving forward? It's going to be interesting to see how this kind of plays out over time. So we wanted to make sure that people were aware. But again, we are not tax professionals. We are not giving you tax advice of any kind. We just want to make sure that people are informed. If you have any questions about this, we definitely highly recommend you go talk to an accountant, go talk to a CPA, go talk to someone who is in a better position. But this does change things quite a lot for people who've been selling comics and collectibles and action figures and stuff, on places like eBay.
And in the short term, this is something you should be talking to your congressperson or senator about, because that's the problem with a lot of these bills. Is that's where the whole pork thing comes from. They always put stuff in these bills that you don't know, that they don't tell you. We've been on this show where we talked about some of the stuff was happening with the copyright laws in one of these bills, and nobody was talking about that. They do this all the time, and so you have to be aware. You have to be on your toes about this. It's really interesting, the $600 number, because I've been dealing with that myself, filing my own taxes, because we didn't really do anything last year on our own, but earlier already this year we were shooting a music video. So I was bringing that up with my tax preparer about, what do I need to claim, these people that were paying on this gig, and the threshold is very low as long as you're under $600, right? When you're having somebody do something for you like this. But what we're talking about here is people that are like on eBay or something like that. And essentially what they want to do is they want to treat people that are on eBay as if they're employees of eBay. And so they're in the same boat as those people that I have on my shoot. And sometimes people that I have on a shoot, they might actually legitimately be independent contractors, by the way, as well. So that in that case, they ain't getting no 1099. You know what I mean? So there's a lot to this, and there's a lot of stuff that can really hurt small businesses and also hurt people that, the way they refer to in this article, the gig economy, people that are doing sort of that side hustle of eBay, or even if it's maybe doing a rideshare thing. All sorts of different things can be affected by this, and you should be aware of it, because ultimately they're going to come after you. If you're the person that's doing this stuff, they're going to come after you, because they're going to be saying that you didn't report your income properly. And that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. I mean, for some people, this can be life-changing for some people that really rely on that side income, or even people that rely on this as essentially their primary income. There could be some major implications for them.
Yeah, and it's curious to see too, on the flip, like how this is going to affect, kind of the collectibles side, in terms of people selling, graded cards or ungraded cards, and people selling, graded comics or ungraded comics or action figures, collectibles, whatever. It's going to be interesting, and it affects more people than you think too. I actually, one of my more recent purchases I've made is I actually bought a vintage 1975. It's actually a Mead school binder, and it actually has graphics on it. The Fantastic Four. I'm going to show it up here on the show. It's where my my Marvel Impel cards are going to go live, because I wanted something interesting to put them in besides what they're currently in. So my original Marvel Universe Impel cards and the sleeves are actually going to go into that binder, because I think it'd be more fun to display and show to people and whatever. I'm going to show this on the show. But the lady I bought that from, I mean, she's not a huge company or anything. She's just a lady selling stuff in Mercari. You know what I mean? But if she sells over a certain threshold, now, she's going to have to be sure to report all that.
Yeah. They can get really
tricky.
It's
interesting.
They can get really,
yeah.
really
and
tricky.
Again, we're not tax professionals. We're telling you to go consult a tax professional. We just want to make sure that you're informed and you know what's going on.
Now, speaking of some of these sort of cottage industries, if you will, this is one that I always wonder about quite a bit. And I got this lead actually from that Junkman. I don't know if you're familiar with him, Dave. He does a lot of YouTube content, and he talks about a lot of he actually talks about the history of a lot of different toys and things like that. And he came up with this. And the funny thing is, this story is like almost a year old, actually. But there is something new that's come about from this. So I wasn't aware of this, but apparently there is a company in Australia that came up with Last Starfighter action figures. Have you seen any of these, Dave? These are pretty cool.
Wow, that is cool. I didn't realize they made Last Starfighter action figures.
Apparently these are based on a prototype that was done by Galoob. and Galoob was interested in making Last Starfighter figures, but for whatever reason, it never happened. There's a similar story I know about Alien figures, and I believe that the Funko Retro line eventually actually came out with those figures that were basically only in the prototype stage. This is something similar, but this company is much, much smaller. It says the Last Starfighter carded figures from Good Guys Never Win Toys. This particular blog is called Toys Are Evil, and it's dated June 24th, 2020. So as you can see, they have the main character, Alex Rogan. They also have Centauri, the agent that was helping him out. He's got the different faces and all that stuff. And then they also had Grig, the co-pilot. And these are really good-looking toys. And if you notice, they're all numbered, and there was only 100 of them made. That's it.
Wow.
And this is a company that's actually located in Melbourne, Australia. They're actually a dealer. They actually deal in toys. And I have another related one from them. Let me bring it up real quick. This is actually from their actual Facebook where they do their transactions. So it's called Lobos Collectibles. It's located in Melbourne, Australia. This is actually dated from just 2 days ago. So this is a very recent post. It says, "We don't just sell collectibles, we make collectibles. Exclusively designed and produced by us, the Last Starfighter Series 3 box set has arrived with Alex Rogan." By the way, I'm wondering what seasons Series 1 and 2 box sets were.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the Starfighter arcade machine with the bounty hunter. It's limited to 200 pieces worldwide, $195 for each box set. It is pricey. That's $20 extra for postage unless you're overseas, and you're out $45. But I didn't want to show the pictures of this because here you can see they actually have like the little Starfighter arcade.
Wow, that's cool.
So it's the actual little arcade. And then you can see it's actually got like a little screen there and all that stuff and controls. Yeah. And then you can see in the background, you can see the actual main character playing the game, and then you can see the bounty hunter that came after him.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. See, that's it. That's the box set there. And apparently it says this is Series 3. So I want to give the shout out to Junkman, first of all, because he was the one who made a video about this, and I thought it was really cool. Great find. But he was commenting too, like apparently the original post about this is like almost a year old, all the way back in June when they were talking about the initial action figures, which who knows if those are even still available. But this is a really interesting thing. And it does actually relate to what we were talking about with, there are these sort of cottage industries that exist out there in toy manufacturing. And it's something that I've wanted to learn more about, because I wonder, do these guys have a license? Do they not have a license? If they do, how did they get it? You know what I mean? Or is it because their numbers are so low, they can get away with this, right? And it's not something where anybody's going to take action against them. You know what I mean? I don't know the whole history behind it, but these are really neat products.
Yeah, that's really cool. That is really cool. I had no idea that existed. Last Starfighter is a fun movie. I consider it a classic movie in the 80s. It'll be fun to talk about here on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I think we were wanting to do one a while back, and we were having a problem finding a venue that was exhibiting it. I think that was one of the issues we had when we were talking about it. We'll have to check that up, follow up on that, and see if anybody is streaming it currently, because that would definitely be a fun one to revisit. That's a movie that I remember very fondly. But again, I think it's interesting. There are people out there that manufacture toys in these very limited quantities, and they do make some really interesting products. And again, I don't know if it's licensed or not. I just thought it was interesting.
And along those lines, too, those of you who saw some of our previous reporting actually on the Retro Weeks Live, my understanding is the Defenders of the Earth action figures are actually available and are kind of circulating about, too. So if you're interested in picking those up, they're available at different kind of places. So definitely keep an eye out for those.
You can get those at Walmart.
Yeah.
I saw a picture, and I think it was from that Junkman, and he had a picture where he was showing them at Walmart.
And I totally wanted to get a line of those Defenders of the Earth, but I'm so heavily invested in cards and all these other things. I can't do it. Oh well. Darn. But those are really cool. I love Defenders of the Earth, so that's a fun thing. So definitely, if you're interested, know that those ones that we had originally reported, they are out and about now. So definitely go check them out. So,
and Ronnie says, Dave, don't buy Ming. Don't do it. Don't get Ming. And Hollywood Jackson says, my license is on my bumper. Now, you don't need no stinking license, right, Hollywood Jackson? I get it. Now, it's something that I wonder about quite a bit. In fact, Dave and I have had private conversations about that because I'll look at some of these different venues. Actually, Junkman's talked a lot about this stuff too. Whether you're talking about reproductions or just straight up bootlegs or whatever, he talks about it sometimes on his show, and the controversy it actually creates within the collector community, because it does create controversy. But I just thought these things looked so cool. I was like, and I figured you'd like it too, Dave. So I was like, I'm just going to show them.
No, yeah, and to respond to Ronnie, I'd much rather see it on my shelf than scattered to atoms. Well, Mean the Merciless Flash Gordon reference there for those of you who caught that. All right, very cool. Are we good to just go ahead and just go into pop culture news at this point?
Yeah, I think
all right,
that would
there
be
you
good.
Go. Cool. All right, so here on the pop culture news segment, we talk about anything that we think is interesting in the world of pop culture news. It's something that's either piqued Eric's interest or my interest. Either way, we hope it's something that you will find interesting and worthy of discussion. That's what we like to talk about here in the pop culture news. So tell me, Eric, what do you have up first for tonight's pop culture news?
Well, I keep having this problem, and we talk about it off the air all the time. There's so much stuff where it kind of straddles the line between pop culture and streaming wars, because so much of what's happening and what's going on is being promoted on a streaming platform. So sometimes it's hard to just be kind of pure, I guess, content related without getting into the streaming wars. But I did have an interesting a story here that I thought, some of our viewers might be interested in. We did have quite a Star Trek following at one point, and Dave and I are classic Star Trek fans. I think we both diverge at different points with some of the different shows that we maybe like more than others. And this is a great example of one of those kind of early divisive shows, quite frankly, where a lot of fans love it and a lot of fans not so much. But comicbook.com was reporting that Star Trek Voyager documentary has broken some records and expands its crowdfunding campaign. So it says the Star Trek Voyager documentary launched its Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign last week and broke the site's records for day one donations towards a documentary, earning $455,000. Boy, I wish we had that kind of budget on staycation, man. That'd be awesome. But anyway, after 1 week, it is the second most funded documentary in Indiegogo history, with $638,000, $6,038,348. Currently, the highest for documentary is Star Trek Deep Space Nine's retrospective What We Left Behind. Their total was $647,891. So there actually looks like the Voyager documentary looks like it might actually overtake the Star Trek Deep Space Nine documentary, which incidentally, Dave and I still need to review that one. That really does need to be more of a priority on this show, because I own a physical copy of that documentary and I still haven't watched it. But I thought this was interesting. It looks like there is a lot of Voyager love out there. Voyager is one of the shows that I really was not that big of a fan of, to be honest with you. I do watch it quite often, actually, but part of the basically the Star Wars block, it's called All Star Trek on Heroes and Icons, which is a digital sub-channel. They basically do all the shows from the original series all the way to Enterprise 6 nights a week. So lots of times when, I just want something in the background, or I'm playing on my phone, or actually even interacting with people on that thread, hashtag All Star Trek, I'll start commenting about some of the episodes and things like that. But I did think it was interesting that this documentary is getting a lot of attention. And I'm curious about you, Dave, how you feel about Star Trek Voyager, and if you're looking forward to this documentary or not.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I wanted to watch the Deep Space Nine one, What We Leave Behind. As far as the Voyager one, I mean, I love all this kind of documentary, behind the scenes type stuff. Some of the more fun ones in recent memory was the one they did about the death of Superman Lives, about the Nicolas Cage Superman movie. That was actually a really fun documentary, directed and put together by John Schnepp. That was a really fun one. And in addition to that, too, I really enjoyed The Doomed, all about the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie. Actually, this show, ironically, owes a little bit of initial inspiration, because the first time the gentleman ever turned on a camera and actually went onto YouTube or anything was actually to talk about meeting Joseph Galt, the original, very first live-action Doctor Doom for the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie. And Doomed was a really fun documentary. So I enjoy these kind of things. I'd be totally down to watch it. Voyager is not my favorite of all the Star Trek shows. I didn't hate it or anything. This will be controversial. I think I liked Enterprise better than Voyager. But I'd be down to watch it.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. I actually do prefer Enterprise to Voyager, even though I have all sorts of continuity issues with Voyager, tons and tons and tons of them. But there are some things I enjoyed in Voyager. I actually liked Kes, which is kind of interesting because I know a lot of people hated Kes, and I actually liked her, even though I also like 7 of 9. That's a controversy of Voyager, which I'm curious if they're going to address in the documentary, because it is a big controversy about the replacing of Kes with 7 on Voyager. I also like Tuvok. Tuvok is a character I enjoyed. I've actually met Tim Russ a couple times related to the Phoenix Comic-Con. And I'm trying to think if there's another character that I really enjoy. I think that's about it. Unfortunately, I think that's about it. Not that I hate all the other characters on Voyager. They just don't do a lot to me. The problem I have with Voyager is that Voyager, I've mentioned this before, in a lot of ways, Voyager was the culmination of almost an MCU-style event that Star Trek was playing with, because they established the Maquis in Star Trek The Next Generation. They established that basically the Cardassians and the Federation were doing this treaty, creating this demilitarized zone that was going to put a bunch of Federation planets in the Cardassian Empire. And that resulted in this conflict with the Maquis. The Maquis were basically Federation sympathizers who were fighting the Cardassians to gain their freedom. And they started that in Next Gen. That concept was started in Next Gen. They played with it a lot in Deep Space Nine. In fact, that episode was recently on Heroes and Icons, the episode where they had the beginnings of the Maquis, which is actually Sisko's best friend, is like the creator of the Maquis, basically. He's a Federation officer who defects and decides to join the resistance in the Maquis. And there's a big conflict between Sisko and his very good friend who's decided to go against the Federation, essentially. And then, of course, half the crew in Voyager was supposed to be Maquis. That was the idea, was it was going to be a mixed crew of Federation and Maquis, so you'd have some interesting conflict going on. That lasted not even the pilot. I mean, seriously, that's how long it lasted before they just axed that whole idea. And everybody was getting along, and Chakotay was no longer a terrorist, even though he was a leader in the Maquis. He becomes obsessed with science. I mean, it did some stuff that really made no sense, in my opinion. And that's my biggest problem I have with Voyager, is I feel there was so much lost potential there, because they could have done some really fun stuff with the crew fighting each other all the time, constantly at odds with each other, and it would have made sense in a Star Trek context. You know what I mean? They did all that work to create that situation. In fact, my understanding was the entire point of the Maquis was to make Star Trek Voyager. And what's funny is the Maquis storyline ended up being something that Deep Space Nine had to deal with as an afterthought. And it's really true. That's Deep Space Nine was kind of left holding the bag on this whole stupid Maquis thing that was meant for Voyager. And then they had to finish it. And they actually did a pretty good job with it. They actually did some really cool stuff where they had members of the crew betraying other members of the crew because they were involved with the Maquis, Whereas on Voyager, that stuff just kind of went away. So that's my biggest problem with it, is I thought it was a really interesting concept that they just never executed on. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't be interested in seeing the behind the scenes. And I would love it if they would address some of that stuff. I don't think they will, but it'd be cool if they did.
Interesting. James says, buckle in for some more Picard. To which I say to James again, no one wants more Picard on this particular show, James. Not Eric, not myself. Neither one of us are interested in any more Picard and in animated, live action, books, comics. No, thank you. I'm done.
I feel like that should be like our more cowbell. You know what I mean? Like that just needs to pop up on the show all the time. Like, you know what this show needs? You know what this movie
more
needs?
Picard.
It needs more Picard.
More Picard.
That's what it needs, you know? Like more cowbell. It needs more because I got a fever, Dave. I got a fever. And the only thing that's going to satisfy it is more Picard, you know?
I think that's a rash, Eric. It's a rash. You need to cream that.
It's a sickness of some kind. There's no doubt about it. I'm sorry, but if you're a fan of that show, hey, you can be a fan of whatever you want, but man, I'm sorry. There's some issues there.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, they
that's
want it.
Not right.
Did you do the I Love Picard t-shirt yet?
No. I will tell you this though, that is funny. We should do a Retro Rogues Live. It's got the logo on the front, and the back it says, "What this show needs is more Picard."
I like that. I like that a lot.
Maybe Picard is written on a cowbell. You know?
Yeah, we can do something with that. There you go.
What this show needs is more Picard. You know, the scary thing about that is, James, our ratings were much higher when we were complaining about Picard. I'm just going to put that out there. We intentionally made a choice amongst ourselves to like not just constantly review things and hate watch it because we felt like it was just kind of mean-spirited and whatever. So we did walk away from a little bit of ratings intentionally to try and be a little bit more positive. So it's going to put that out there. You know, we don't intentionally look for things to hate watch.
And the truth is, there's a lot of much more successful channels. That's all they do. You know what I mean?
That's what they do.
And they have a very large following doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can constantly watch a show you just hate. I mean, like I said, I don't hate WandaVision, for instance. I mean, that's not anywhere near the level of Picard for me. Not even in the same ballpark. But it is frustrating when you watch a show and you're disappointed, you know, because you feel like you spent a lot of time with us. And then when you don't like it, it's tough. But Picard is like, that's like just, you know, they have those stupid lines where people are like, oh, you ruined my childhood. It's like, you didn't ruin my childhood, but man, you really put like a weird footnote on it now that kind of makes everything yucky. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to describe, you know, it just taints it. It really taints the whole legacy of the show, you know, so of the original Next Gen show. So it is what it is. And
along those lines, talking about what, you know, Star Trek fans we are, I don't even have to reach very far to find Star Trek things. For example, I don't wear it as much anymore. Here's my Star Trek cap that I wear on the Retro Rogues from time to time. Literally sitting right here within distance. This is a model of the USS Reliant from Wrath of Khan. This is actually assembled and painted by my good friend Lynn Workman, who gave this to me many, many years ago. It sits right here by my computer while I'm doing the Retro Rogues Live. So I'm a diehard Star Trek guy. I love Star Trek, but man, Picard, that was hard to watch. I mean, it was really hard to watch.
Well, you talk about things within reach.
Yeah.
And right behind me, I wish I could bring out the whole box, but it's wedged between. You can kind of see this computer over here, this old computer. Yeah, there's a box full of these here, Star Trek Hero Clicks. By the way, these are still in the box because I just can't. For some reason, I just haven't felt like opening them. You know what I mean? But I got a box full of these. I got them because they weren't very popular. The Star Trek Hero Clicks line, it really didn't do all that well. And I basically took a guy, what was left of a comic book shop guy's display set on his counter. And so the box I actually still have behind there, like the little display box that came in. It's not sealed, but all the ships that are left in it are. So yeah, and that's within reach as well. So yeah, obviously we love Star Trek, and that's why we get so upset when New Trek does something that's just crap, you know?
Yeah, and along those lines, this is my motion picture phaser. Yeah, we're diehard Star Trek fans here on the Retro Rose Live, that's for sure. But yeah, Picard was awful. I don't want to ever watch that again. And when Strange New Worlds actually finally comes to Paramount Plus, I'll consider venturing back into the world of Star Trek because I really liked Anson Mount as Pike. I'm excited for that show. But right now, there's just nothing on Paramount Plus that really has me terribly interested enough to talk about it. Once Strange New Worlds gets on there, maybe we'll talk about Star Trek for a little bit again. But I'm gonna be honest with you, Eric, because of the attention that the Babylon 5 video has gotten, I feel like I would enjoy just to talk about Babylon 5. I actually started trying to rewatch some of those on HBO Max. It was kind of fun. And Babylon 5 is a show that I watched a little bit here and there, but I never watched that much of. So it would be fun for me just to have a new sci-fi show just to explore and get caught up in, something fun to talk about here on our show.
Yeah, it might be interesting because I have no intention of getting Paramount Plus, but I wouldn't mind hearing you talk about Strange New Worlds, and I could just be sitting here, kind of just chiming in every once in a while as you review the episodes for us, and I can say, really, that's what they did, huh? Really? I'm glad you're paying for it and not me, So
all right, well there you go. We'll see. Yeah,
as Hollywood Jackson says, the Star Trek channel sucks. Ronnie says he still needs to finish Picard, but he says they are working on Deep Space Nine. Which, by the way, a funny thing about Deep Space Nine, Ronnie, I think I might have even mentioned it to you when you were on the show. With Deep Space Nine, I really fell off the Deep Space Nine wagon around season 2.5, maybe really early season 3. And the irony is, it's like season 4 when Deep Space Nine really gets good. When Worf comes on the show, that's a huge turning point on Deep Space Nine. And when it was first run, I couldn't get there. I mean, there's some interesting storylines in Deep Space Nine, but overall, those first 3.5 seasons, there's some rough spots, man. There's some really rough spots in that show.
Yeah, but it's a fun show. I really like Deep Space Nine. And there's a lot of fun retro sci-fi shows I would love to talk about here on the show more often. I mean, I love Space 1999. I keep bringing up Space 1999, and I just Space 1999.
Everybody talks about
show.
Space 1999. I mean, come on, it's been done to death, man.
That is not right.
That's an inside joke between.
That is not right that you bring that up to me. It's not right that you bring that up to me.
It's been done so many times. I'm sorry. Come on. You got to laugh sometimes. You just got to laugh because even I think that's insane for somebody to say that. There is not a lot of Space 1999 stuff out there, folks. There just really isn't. So it's a funny joke that somebody in the Orville Nation decided to direct at Dave for probably because they were having a bad day. Let's just chalk it up to that. Maybe that person was just having a really bad day.
Yeah.
Decided to take it out on you.
Yeah, there you go. Do you have anything else for pop culture news?
No. Did you have something for pop culture news?
I don't. I've been focusing most of my attention on the collector's corner and the speculation and kind of looking more at that. I'll try and have something hopefully for next week. The other thing I wanted to bring up was the whole tax thing. I wanted to bring that up. I felt like that was important. Do we want to go ahead and go into the streaming wars?
Yes, that sounds good to me. We do have a couple of little fun comments here. Hollywood Jackson's having a little fun with this, I think. He's saying all Picard all day. Ronnie agrees. I think with Deep Space Nine, season 4 is really, honestly, I would tell someone like if they were like on like they were like, oh well, I watched a few episodes of Deep Space Nine, never got into it. I would say, you know what? Skip the first 3 seasons and just go straight to season 4 and enjoy. You know what I mean? Because then you probably won't have all the issues that you had at the beginning. You'll just because if you like Next Gen, you're going to be happy to see O'Brien and Worf on Deep Space Nine. You'll get into it a lot easier. But yeah, I agree. That's where it really started to get good. And Hollywood Jackson, again, I think is having a little fun with us. Is what happened to William Shatner. Incidentally, I've been wanting to talk about the fact he's coming out with a new movie with Christopher Lloyd. I don't know if you heard about that, Dave. I had wanted to talk about that movie, but there is a movie coming out with William Shatner and Christopher Lloyd. I think it's actually supposed to be coming out like this month or something like that. And I don't know exactly what venues it's going to be on. Apparently, it was filmed a couple years ago, but it's actually coming out in the next couple of months. There's a new film with William Shatner and Christopher Lloyd, who was in Star Trek 3. They're together again in a new film. And then James mentions the old show UFO, which I'm not that familiar with. I just have a passing familiarity with it. He says, with the purple-haired woman on the Moon Command Center. I think you're muted, Dave.
Sorry about that. Yeah, UFO was a fun show. That's a Jerry Anderson show. Again, I think he's bringing it up. But it's a really popular show created by the same guy who created Space 1999 and actually Thunderbirds. Thunderbirds or Go Thunderbirds.
Thunderbirds was something I really liked as a kid. I really liked Thunderbirds. Yeah.
It's one of those things. All of those would be really fun to talk about. UFO is actually a point of inspiration actually for Red Skirts, as is Space 1999. Both of those are heavily influencing actually Red Skirts. I know Red Skirts has been on a very, very long hiatus, but it's because the artist on that has been just trying to do too much and can't seem to get back to pages. But there are pages of Volume 2 that are completed. There's actually more completed than what people have actually seen. We do intend to actually get that going again very soon. But building a t-shirt company turns out takes more time than you would think. Although it seems like you would think it would take time. But there you go. And then Hollywood Jackson calls it out too. Yes, Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet. You're correct, Captain Scarlet too. Actually, there's a fun Jerry Anderson's studio actually has a fun podcast where they do a lot of coverage about that, talk about that. They talk a lot of the model builders, for example, that worked on Thunderbirds. They talk about some of the original writers that worked on things like Space 1999 and Captain Scarlet, for example. There's a lot of fun things. I'm trying to remember what the name of it is. And occasionally they have too. They'll have special collectibles and stuff that are Space 1999 related. For example, they actually re-dramatized as an audio drama, actually Space 1999 with a new cast and recorded those. And I forget where those are available. But you can actually see all of those and learn more about that. If you just do a search for Jerry Anderson, I think it's Jerry Anderson Studios. But there's a lot of fun content that they're still actually producing. Hollywood Jackson also calls out Supercar. Supercar was fun. My favorite was actually Stingray. As a child, I loved Stingray. That was the Super Marionette, one that involved the submarine force. But Stingray was one of my favorites as a child.
Right on. Yeah, a lot of good stuff that Jerry Anderson was involved with. One of the greats, I think, definitely.
All right, so we're going to go into the Streaming Wars segment. So here we talk about things that are happening in the world of Streaming Wars. Now, you may ask yourself, what do you mean by streaming? Are you talking about fish and stream? Are we talking about fishing? What do you mean by streaming? Well, we're talking about video streaming. We're talking about any one of those fun streaming services that we like, things such as Netflix, things such as Hulu, things such as, for example, HBO Max, or maybe even Paramount Plus, or even some of those streaming services that no longer exist, like the formerly called DC Universe, now called DC Infinite or something, or even things like Quibi. Some of these streaming services have already died. Casualties of, that's right, everyone, the Streaming Wars. So tell me, Eric, what do you have up first for this week's installment of the Streaming Wars?
Well, this is actually going to lead to an upcoming episode. We have discussed that we are going to review the Justice League Snyder Cut on this program. Now, that's not going to be the next episode because it's not going to be out in time for the next episode of the Retro Rogues Live. But recently, there was apparently a leak that happened. This is a Variety article, and it says Snyder Cut of Justice League accidentally posts early for some HBO Max users. So apparently what happened was there were people that were trying to watch Tom and Jerry, and they got themselves a full hour of the Justice League Snyder Cut. And there's a lot of controversy about this particular story because there are people lining up on different sides of this, basically saying, hey, is Warner Brothers trying to sabotage the Snyder Cut? Is that what they're doing? And then there's other people saying, no, they're not doing that. It was just a mistake. But the funny thing is, I could see this as being a deliberate act, because the fact of the matter is, this leak has got people talking about the Snyder Cut. Not that they weren't talking about it before, but it's definitely got the chatter just blowing up once again. And I feel like when you talk about the hype machine, there is a lot of hype machine behind the Snyder Cut. And I can't help but wonder if this might be an example of that, if there was some sort of deliberate decision to do this to create some additional buzz for the movie. I don't know. It's speculation on my part. I don't claim inside knowledge, but I thought it was interesting. Again, a lot of people are making a lot of this, and ultimately it could have been a mistake. Who knows? But I know you have HBO Max. Dave, did you happen to be able to catch the first hour of Snyder Cut?
No, I've been too busy doing other things. I haven't talked about it here much on the show, but I've actually started selling things in Mercari. We're getting ready on Kirby Tees actually to have a collectibles section on Kirby Tees where we sell things. The only thing currently up on there right now is some old Rob Liefeld Youngblood cards from the 90s. But where I'm trying to look at getting into different avenues and stuff. So I've been too busy to honestly even think about watching Tom and Jerry, although it's funny because you and I talked about that. So if I had actually just turned it on just out of curiosity while I was working, maybe I could have seen the first hour of the Snyder Cut.
Right.
But no, it honestly hadn't even been very high on my radar, I'm curious to see the Snyder Cut. Actually, our next episode, we're going to be talking about underrated DC universe movies. Is actually what the topic is possibly going to be for the next episode of the Retro Live. Us picking underrated DC movies that we quite like. Because now the Joss Whedon Snyder Cut is considered, an underrated, Justice League movie for certain people, so to be curious to see how this all works out at the end. I mean, I have a feeling, I don't feel like there's anything nefarious going on here. I think someone just goofed up, but you never know anymore. That's what I'm talking about. You never know how far to take the insider information. So who knows at the end of the day. I do think this is another interesting publicity ploy, though, to keep people talking about the Snyder Cut, irregardless.
As Hollywood Jackson says, the hype machine again.
The hype machine lives.
And apparently,
but you know what?
Ronnie says he's going to be here for the Snyder Cut for sure. So there are people that are definitely excited about it.
And I'm just going to put this out there. I can tell you right now, I know exactly what the Snyder Cut needs. More Picard.
That's exactly what it needs.
That's what WandaVision needed too. It also needed more Picard.
Just something with that. Like
yeah,
what was missing from this? Where was Picard? That's what I'm really asking.
Yeah.
You. Like in WandaVision, where was Picard? That's kept going through my mind. Why isn't Picard doing something?
That's right.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It seems like an obvious one to me.
It does. And then Ronnie brings up something interesting. He says he's pre-ordered the Snyder Cut figures. And I'll be honest with you, Ronnie, I haven't. But that black suit Superman's pretty cool.
I didn't even know there were Snyder Cut figures.
Yep.
I didn't even know that was the thing.
Yeah. The death of Superman, the Superman Lives, the Superman Return, that whole storyline they did in the comics, with the death of Superman and Doomsday and the imposters and all. I loved all those comics back in the day, and I like the black suit Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man, the black suit Superman. Like, I think that's kind of a fun thing, and it's weird too because talking about Spider-Man, the black suit Spider-Man. I do think it's weird that they brought Spider-Man out in a new suit and they just didn't stick him back in a version of the black costume. I did think that was weird because everyone loves that costume. I just thought that was strange that they're trying so hard to, stay away from something that the fans would, just gravitate towards and really like. I think people would love to see that costume make a return for Spider-Man.
That probably has a lot to do with Venom.
Yeah.
And the fact that they seem not to want to do that either. They seem to want to keep Venom by itself and not integrate it into the wider Spider-Verse for some reason. And that I'm sure a big part of that is because of Spider-Man 3's sort of lukewarm reaction, you know. But
yeah. But Venom was a fun movie. I liked Venom. That was a lot of fun.
I still haven't seen Venom. I still need to
I
see
liked
Venom.
it. But as any evidence of the show, just because I liked it doesn't mean you'd like it, Eric. But I enjoyed the Venom movie quite a bit. I thought it was fun. So
yeah, it wasn't intentional not to see it. It just didn't happen. You know, it was one of those deals where I just never made it to the theater. And it seems hard sometimes to find Sony movies. Sometimes Sony plays nice with Netflix or somebody else. I don't know why they just don't put all their stuff on Crackle, but yeah, that's just the way they are. So, I mean, they own Crackle, so why just put your stuff there?
Here's an interesting comment.
That's because Spider-Man 3 was ass. It really was. And the thing, actually, and I didn't think the Venom thing was absolutely horrible. Not that I thought it was good. I really had a problem with the Sandman stuff. I really had a big problem with the Sandman stuff. I really did. I thought that was. I thought that was a bitch move. You know, that to let Spider-Man's not going to let a criminal go just because he has a bad sob story. I'm sorry. And just because your daughter's dying doesn't mean you get to kill people. I'm sorry. It's like the Picard line. I'm done murdering people. You know what I mean? No, it doesn't work like that, folks. I'm sorry. That's not justice. That's not life. So.
Well, I had a big problem with the disco scene. That's what I had I hate.
Oh, that was a highlight to me.
No, it's bad. It's really
have you seen all the edits where they have him like going into they have him as Darth Maul during the episode 1 fight. They have him as Yoda when he's confronting the Emperor. There's all sorts of fun stuff out there for that. Exactly. See, great minds think alike. Ronnie says, but at least we got Bully Maguire YouTube videos from it. That's exactly what I was talking about. The Bully Maguire stuff. Spider-Man 3 sucked. That's funny. Engage.
Well, that's what it needed, was more Picard.
The hate drive. We should call that the hate drive. Engage the hate drive.
The hate drive.
More Picard. Engage
the hate drive. There you go. That's good. I like that. All right, cool. Do you have anything else for this week's installment of the Streaming Wars?
No, I think we're good on. We're over time now. So
all right, okay, cool.
That's good.
All right,
definitely want to talk about the Snydercut because we are going to be reviewing it, not on the next episode, but the episode after. Once it's out, we will be reviewing the Snydercut. It's a given. We got to do it, and we are.
And then again, like I said, next week will be either a pick from Eric or myself. We'll both be talking about some of our favorite underrated DC Comics movies. And we are going to be giving away some DC Comics themed cards on those particular episodes as well. Eric and I need to discuss the best time to maybe take a look at doing these unboxing. I'm not sure if these will necessarily be the cards for next week that we'll be giving away, but we will be hopefully doing that unboxing. But I've already picked some out. Eric's already seen the ones that I was thinking about doing. So we will be doing actually some fun DC cards, maybe some DC movie themed cards actually for next week as well. So definitely come back for that. Again, our contest this week was for we've got these 3 cards from tonight. These are all WandaVision themed. All you had to do to enter into this contest was actually just comment during the show. We're going to take all the names, throw them into a hat. Again, we got Avengers West Coast here. Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, is right there on the end, as well as U.S. Agent for those people who care about U.S. Agent. I think he's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing him in Falcon and Winter Soldier. We also have our first Masterpiece card to show up here on the show. It's going to be given away. This is Vision. This is from a later version of the Marvel trading cards. This is the big one for tonight anyway. This is from Marvel Series 3, the Impel cards. This is actually Vision and the Scarlet Witch together. We've been holding on to this card for the last episode, the finale of WandaVision. Again, all you had to do to be entered to win that is actually just comment during the show. And again, last week, we have yet to announce yet, but last week's big card for the after comment portion was actually Nightcrawler. And then the one actually that's going to be for this week is actually going to be Beast, the X-Men's Beast. And again, all you have to do to be entered into this is actually just comment on one of the this video, one of the videos that come from this after the episode. Again, we like for you to be in the United States because filling out customs forms sucks. The first cards, these cards are actually just during the actual live portion. The other ones are after that. And again, all we'll do is we'll just pull your name out of the hat. We'll contact you, get your address, we'll mail it to you. You don't have to pay for anything. You don't have to buy nothing. You don't have to sign up for nothing. You ain't got to do no Patreon. You got to do nothing. We just want to thank you for watching the Retro Rogues Live. So I want to thank you for watching this episode. Again, my name is Dave Bate. I've been one of your hosts. You can see some of the fun things I do. You can learn more about me either at my website, davebate.com, or actually check out, hopefully support and purchase one of the t-shirts we have over at Kirby Tees. That's Kirbyts. You purchase one of the new fun designs, either Brains or Magic, Skelethor, Original Drag Slayer, or even just a Retro Rogues Live shirt. Please help do that. Support the show here. And we are going to do that. All this show needs is more Picard, because I think that's hilarious. So maybe we'll have that for next week. But enough about that. I want to thank Mr. Eric Alexander for being here on the show, providing his unique insight and perspective. Eric, please tell the folks, hopefully, where they can learn more about you on the interwebs.
Well, I am most active on Twitter, and my DMs are open there. That's at BaseGod14. That's at BASSGOD14. I'm always open to input. In fact, with the next show coming up, I would love some input from people about what you think is a highly unrated DC movie. Maybe we could do an honorable mention, or who knows, maybe I'll agree with you, and that will be my choice, because I'm struggling with it, to be honest with you. So it'll be interesting to see what we come up with. I know Dave, by the way, has a great choice that he's going to be giving you. But yeah, any suggestions on future shows are also welcome there. We don't have anything locked in at this point other than what we just said. We're going to be doing sort of a lead up to the Snydercut in the next episode. We're going to be talking about underrated DC movies, and then the episode after that will be Snydercut. So if you have suggestions and other things that you'd like us to take a look at, if you're a fan of something else, just let us know, and we'll take a look and see if it's something we can get access to and we can check out. BaseGod14 is also the official YouTube and also the official Twitch and Twitter for the show. I would like to mention that the YouTube, we've been getting a lot of response with the Collector's Corner stuff, and definitely a shout out to those folks, because it's essentially like a whole different audience, and it's kind of cool. So a shout out to those folks. We really appreciate you, and we hope to be taking care of you folks as well in the future. And of course, all of our people that are here for the live show, we appreciate the very warm comments. Hollywood Jackson says, great show, guys. Jane said, great and fun show, guys. We really appreciate that. Ronnie had said earlier, and as part of the theme tonight, Picard is going to put some sand in your eye. And with that, we'll go ahead and leave Ronnie with the last